Hi, guys. I am so excited. I am here with Dr. Leah Gordon today to talk with you about her new podcast that she has co-recorded with one of my favorite doctors ever, Dr. Morgan McDermott. It's called Healthy as a Mother. And all of you need to go subscribe and listen to it right now. We're going to tell you why. But first, Dr. Leah, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Leah Gordon. I am a naturopathic doctor like you, Dr. Katie, and I specialize in the season of women's life, primarily before they become pregnant, helping women become mothers. So everything from breaking up with birth control to balancing their hormones to preparing for pregnancy and navigating fertility and infertility. And I have a private practice, but more recently and in a bigger way, I own a company called Womanhood Wellness, where we've created courses and programs and resources and support for women who can access this kind of information at a more reasonable price and have just all of the knowledge and wisdom that I've accumulated over the years in my own healing journey and also with seeing patients and wrapped up in a pretty little place. So that's kind of what I do now.
Love it. And guys, Dr. Morgan McDermott owns she has a membership-based practice, which is pretty cool. And it's milk medicine. And
Mhm.
Morgan really helps people, would you say, like kind of pregnancy and birth, but also postpartum. Can you talk with
Yeah.
us a little bit about what Dr. Morgan does differently than what you do?
Yeah, so this will come up when we talk about the podcast. We both have passions around women's health and the reproduction world, seasons of a woman's life. But I focus more on the becoming pregnant, and Morgan's passion is really once you become pregnant, how to navigate pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and parenting to some extent. She sees pediatrics in her physical practice. So she sees people in person in Idaho where she lives. And then her online presence is her membership for mothers who are pregnant or recently new mothers. And we both have immense passions across the spectrum, but our expertise together kind of spread that whole spectrum for women. And that's kind of what we talk about in our podcast.
Beautiful. So yeah, let fill us in, because I love the one thing that you guys say is that, it's through all the times in a woman's life where she wants to know about motherhood, but it's real, it's raw, and you talk about the things that are untalked about. So tell us what that
Mhm.
means.
Yeah. So the Healthy as a Mother podcast is a podcast on becoming and being a mother. So it's, like I said, the seasons of a woman's life on becoming a mother, whether that's getting off birth control, balancing her hormones, working on fertility, infertility, the whole journey of becoming a mother. And once she becomes pregnant, that whole journey of pregnancy and birth and postpartum and prep. And there's so many issues with our systems in our country and in our world in those seasons of a woman's life. And a lot of them are broken systems. They're systems that are not serving women well, they're not serving babies well. And it's really hard to navigate around and through them. And so we talk about a lot of those things. We talk about the things that a lot of people aren't talking about, like postpartum sex and, IVF and male factor infertility and the physiological birth way, how birth is supposed to be, and the broken system of the birth arena. We talk about body image and just all of these things that are not really talked about, that women feel really lost, and they come to us as patients and clients because they're not getting the answers from the traditional medical system, or they're feeling very frustrated or disenchanted with that system. And so yeah, we have a lot of juicy juicy topics and
Yes.
things to discuss to just empower people with resources, with education, knowledge, and practical steps and resources so that they can kind of take their health into their own hands.
Beautiful. I will say, when I saw you guys were doing this, I was so excited, and I was also relieved, because because we can, you can sit with a client for an hour, but there's only so much you can talk about. And then they have to pay to come back for another follow-up. Whereas with this podcast, you guys do an hour on a single topic for free. You already have over 7 episodes, and this is brand new, right? Like, you just launched it, and there's already
Yeah.
7 hours of content. And so for the
Mhm.
mom who, yeah, maybe she comes in and she has a great visit, And she goes home and she does this step one of what she's been told to do, but she's still 364 days a year that she's not in the office. She's by herself. She has questions. She's wondering. This is a free, amazing resource for women to just like show up and feel like there's somewhere real where their questions are being answered and the things that they truly want to know are being talked about. And to me, this is part of community building. Like if you're subscribed to this, you get to sit with Dr. Leah and Dr. Morgan, regularly and hear about this stuff. So I am so thankful that you're doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So would you tell me who you picture this being the most helpful for? Because whoever's sitting at home and watching this, I want you to hear that Dr. Leah and Dr. Gordon have just designed this with you in mind.
Yeah. So there's really it's interesting because when we first came together to start the podcast, we had this thought of, okay, typically podcasts are super hyper focused on one specific thing, which is great and wonderful. And as Dr. Morgan and I are, we're so multifaceted and we're like, how do we pick just the one thing? And so there is a blend of content, and you'll kind of see it's almost every other episode where the episodes where Dr. Morgan's more interviewing me have more to do with the woman herself in the season of either working on her own health, whether that's hormonal issues, libido issues, body image issues, whatever that is, and or preparing for pregnancy. So that could be a woman who maybe just got married and she's thinking about kids, in the nearish future, or a woman who's actively trying to conceive, or someone who's going through infertility. All the way through women who now are pregnant and maybe find our podcast during their pregnancy, or maybe have already given birth and are newly postpartum, or even maybe have children already, but are preparing for baby number 2 or number 3. And so there is kind of this alternating back and forth every other episode on something that has more to do with the season of becoming a mother and then on the season of being a mother. And so really our market is for those women who are looking for answers that they're not getting in the traditional medical system, on any of the spectrums that we talk about. So, and men too, you can listen to it as well. We just launched our sperm health podcast episode last week, which I'm really passionate about given my background. And we know the parts of the womanhood and motherhood journeys that are just not being served well, in our opinion. And so we're doing what we can to show up and serve in the way that we feel we can do that.
It's great. And guys, what I know about Dr. Lee and Dr. Morgan is that they're both brilliant clinicians. And so there's a couple things I want you to know and feel great listening to them. First, you're going to get really evidence-based content, right? Like everything that you hear is true and based on science. And it's really nice that you can listen in a neutral way, because I think for a lot of people who've sort of been in front of a doctor or been in the natural medicine sphere, sometimes you feel like you're almost being sold something. And that's even with your OBGYN, right? You might be feeling like you're being pushed to do something in particular. That is not going to happen with this podcast. You're sitting and you're just objectively listening to the data, right? And to the reality about okay, well, what nutrients do you need for this phase of your life? Not in a way that's pushy, but in a way you actually get to sit back and observe. You guys are going to see links to this podcast in your treatment plans if you come see us and you're in this stage of life, because we want you immersing yourself in this info at home. You can't hear this stuff once and know it, right? That's why you guys have made this podcast, is so that it lives online. You can go back to it again and again and again. And it's a resource for you if you're feeling confused. So I think it is so, so beautiful. I love that you guys are doing this. Thank you so much. Can you tell people, where can they find this podcast?
Yeah. So we have a website, healthyasamother.com, where every episode has a link, to listen on Apple Podcast. Or you can find links on our Instagram, Healthy as a Mother, with a dot between each word. It might be easier to just find us, each of us, Dr. Leah Gordon on Instagram, or Dr. Morgan McDermott on Instagram. or just wherever you get your podcasts, just search for Healthy as a Mother and find the one that is hosted by Dr. Morgan and myself. And hopefully you'll be able to find us easily. If for some reason you can't, let us know and we'll try to fix it.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And I highly recommend that you guys follow their social media, because this is just, again, another way to immerse yourself in this, is to start to create a culture where you are surrounded in many ways by caring, amazing, intelligent female clinicians who have your back. So your Instagram, your email inbox, like, make sure you have Dr. Leah and Dr. Morgan in your life. So thank you, Dr. Leah, for being here with us today. Everybody, go check out the podcast. We will see you guys soon.